When I try to do something, I go full in or I don't bother doing it at all.
You've been the champion for 520 plus days.
The only thing I'm doing is focusing on how to be the best Intercontinental Champion possible.
So there's this photo of you and Ludwig Kaiser. What's happening here?
That must have been after a wrestling show in northern Germany. So he was around and there was a little bit of party afterwards. So we all got drunk after a wrestling show.
How did you learn to speak English?
I only picked it up for wrestling.
What have been your three favorite championship defenses that you've had?
WrestleMania for sure. Sheamus, Drew, Chad Gable.
Well, so good to see you again. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I feel like the world of pro wrestling moves so fast. I'm curious if you've actually had the time to sit and realize just what you've done and what you're currently doing with the Intercontinental Championship.
I'm aware of everything that happens, but I don't allow myself to lean back and rest on that, to be honest. I don't think that's the time. It's not the time for it right now.
You don't seem like the type of person to celebrate, but I'm curious, when you did break the record, did anything happen that night? Was there any sort of celebration in Charlotte, North Carolina?
Well, we had the celebration in the ring, to be fair. That was very nice with the fireworks and everything. That I enjoyed that a lot. But no, I think on that day nothing happened because I bet my flight home the next day was at 6 a.m. So
How about when you got home? Did anything happen when you got home?
no, not really. No, I like to celebrate. I like to celebrate personal events a lot. But professional things is we gotta put the work in first, and then later on there's gonna be enough time in my life where I can celebrate it over and over again.
So what does a personal celebration then look like? Is it smoking a cigar? Is it having a drink?
Yeah, it depends. So smoking a cigar, having a drink, being with the people close to you, that's very important. And that's actually all I need, to be honest. So simple
I think at
need.
the end of the day, with everything that you've accomplished here, what's so cool is seeing that long-term storytelling is a thing right now in WWE. Roman's on this incredible historic run. You're on this incredible historic run as well. What does long-term storytelling mean to you?
Um, Good long-term storytelling, I think, like often doesn't get realized because the point where you realize it, that the dots connect, happens later. That makes sense. It's almost the same when you watch a TV show and you go like, they forgot about the thing, they don't bring it up again. But at the end, it's like a major factor for a big happening, and everybody goes like, ah, now now I get it. But I think especially in WWE, it's super important because we have a weekly program. And I think it's one of the, I don't even know if any other entertainment company faces the same challenges as WWE does with, yeah, bringing on, let's say, innovative content week by week that keeps the people hooked. And just with that, it's not just writing for like a TV show or something. You gotta add all the physical action to that, into that. So that means people are gonna get injured. People, yeah, can't get in the ring for many other reasons. That makes it even more tricky.
At what point during this run did you realize this was something special?
Um, so it sounds weird. I always had there's a certain reaction I want from the audience. Like when I wrestle, I have zero interest in a match where it's always loud and everything gets like a signature chant or this and that or blah blah blah. I love when people are just silent at the beginning of the match and don't say anything and just watch it because there's nothing where they can go, yeah, boo, or anything like that. They just
Yeah.
watch the action. But once the first slight important thing happens, they come up and they're into it. And I try to get people drawn into the competition when I'm in the ring. And I try to develop drama in that in the competition. Um, and it's often when that is successful, you get a different reaction to what you do in the ring than most of the other matches. I just had that feeling again. We just did live events in Tennessee and in Virginia, and I was wrestling Sami Zayn, and I was very happy with those matches we had there. Because the people, yeah, took what we did. It was an important match. It was an Intercontinental Championship match. Something was on the line, and both gave it their all. And it was exactly, yeah, that effort was reflected by the audience. And yeah, those are like the moments where that's what I'm looking for. It was like people watching my matches and go like, okay, we're witnessing something here that is important, that has some magnitude. It's about a title, and that title is really important. I think, yeah, I just tried my best to explain the vibe I'm looking for in the audience when I wrestle.
Quick pause from this episode because Survivor Series is this weekend, and I know because you're watching this, you're a big wrestling fan. You probably have an idea of who's going to win in these matches. Is Gunther going to retain against The Miz? Why not put your money where your mouth is and make a few bucks at mybookie.ag. MyBookie is the place to bet on everything, including combat sports. So we're talking UFC, boxing, and yeah, you heard me correctly. You can bet on WWE PLEs at MyBookie. If you haven't signed up yet, if you didn't even know that this was a possibility, well, this is your chance. Do it now, use my code CVV, and you'll get a free cash bonus on top of your first deposit. That's mybookie.ag, where you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie. So look, we're sitting here right now. You've been the Intercontinental Champion for 520 plus days and counting. At what point, was it a week in? Was it a month in? Was it 6 months in that you went, oh, I'm starting to make this feel maybe more important than it's felt in a long time?
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's something I could kind of tell almost from the get-go. I would say latest from the Clash at the Castle match on. Where I felt like, okay, people are looking at this title or whenever the title is on the line in a different way now. But that's what I'm aiming for. I think a title, obviously, that title can elevate a wrestler, but at the end, it's always the champion himself who makes a title. And I've always been, when I try to do something in life, but especially professionally, I go full in or I don't bother doing it at all. So ever since I am the Intercontinental Champion, the only thing I'm doing is focusing on how to be the best Intercontinental Champion possible. What do I have to do? How do I have to carry myself? How do I have to act in the ring to give it that recognition? And yeah, it all worked out very well so far.
I feel like The Miz was the person before you. It's so fitting that you guys are wrestling each other at Survivor Series, because I feel like he was the person before you that really made the title mean something. And I'm curious if you remember something specific from any of his previous Intercontinental title reigns that he had.
No, I don't remember anything specific out of the Miz's career. I can promise you that. I said it before because I don't know. I forget the years. I don't know. Maybe it was like I'm really bad with that. 2010 to 12 or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But there was a time when I came up as a wrestler, or even later. I didn't bother watching WWE because it was really not my thing. I like Japanese wrestling. I love some of the indie stuff, and that's where my focus was that I watched for personal entertainment, but also like the guys to like Japanese matches, stuff that happens there. How can I use it? So the Miz for me was always the embodiment of that area when I didn't like to watch WWE at all. So getting in the ring with him now is fantastic, especially in WWE, and it's about the Intercontinental Championship, and it's basically the match of who really is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. And I'm really excited for that match. It's honestly because I think when I joined the main roster, it was clear for me I need to make a statement. I'm not a guy out of that system. I've been in NXT UK, I've been a little bit in NXT, but all my development, all my whatever, like character building, figuring myself out and all of that happened way before WWE. So I'm not the typical guy. Miz, on the other hand, is a prime example of how good their development system is, because he started with them and he's one of the most decorated names they have. And I feel like, especially in the presentation of the company in the general media world. He's just a very few have done better than him. So I wanted the challenge. It's like, okay, I need to. I'm still a little bit of a new guy here. I'm definitely still in WWE. I'm a little bit outsider, if that makes sense. That's at least how I feel when I watch it. I'm not the typical WWE wrestler. So I always wanted to be in the ring with The Miz because, first of all, he has that background with the Intercontinental Championship. And secondly, that's a great measuring stick for me, if that makes sense, because it's a little bit a clash of two worlds.
So with all that said, what's really interesting about your career is it was almost 14 years into your wrestling career that WWE, found you and signed you. Was there any point along the way when you didn't think you were going to get that big break?
Yeah, always. I was sure because 2005 I had my first training, right? And then a few years in, whatever, the wrestling scene in Europe and especially the German-speaking countries was so small. Like nobody gave a dang about it. It wasn't on free TV. Like in general, the public, nobody, you get looked at weird when you watch wrestling. Like most people didn't even know what's going on. Like it was not a topic in the mainstream entertainment world. So all of that was so far away. It's like
Yeah.
even like 10 years ago, if somebody from England, I think like Sheamus and Drew and Stu were like one of the first exceptions for Europeans to go there and actually make it or be somebody, or Cesaro. And then for a long time, there was nothing. And it was just something that is, well, that's not realistic. So don't aim for that. My goal was always, I want to make a living of being a professional wrestler. That was always my goal. I want to make this my profession because I know something about it now. It's like I have a passion for it, and I don't want to work a job that just bores the hell out of me. So I always wanted to make it a profession. And when I achieved that, that was already something unheard of. When I became, yeah, full-time wrestler, and I had to be self-employed basically, and to every agency or every government body I had to go for whatever it was, pension, health insurance, and all of that stuff. I got looked at, yeah, like an alien. Like, what is your job? Because I think at that time I was the only person in the whole of Germany that was, yeah, a wrestler by profession. That was already like a big step, and then everything else just fell into place over the time. The indies changed big time. It was before COVID. There was such a big boom in the indie scene in England, especially, but all like in the States as well. And WWE decided to open the doors to, yeah, the independent wrestling world and also to Europe. So that's brought up a lot more possibilities, obviously. And then everything just fell into place. So yeah, it was never my big dream to go there. I think I was more passionate to wrestle for All Japan once at some point, as like a big dream than being with WWE.
How old were you when you learned how to speak English, and how did you learn to speak English?
We had it at school, but it wasn't good. I was really bad. I only picked it up for wrestling, so maybe I
That's
started.
hilarious.
Yeah, I started
Surprised
speaking
you don't
to.
have a Jim Ross accent then.
Yeah, I started speaking English, I would say 2000 and like more regularly, like 2012, 13, when WXW always had English and American guys around, and then yeah, just have to make it your second language a little bit. It's my first language now. I feel like I don't speak German and that often anymore.
I feel like I'm always so impressed because I speak one language. I'm from Canada. I live in the US, but I speak one language. I speak I speak Canadian English. I speak English, right? The
Yeah.
fact that you can speak more than one language, I think is it's almost like a superpower.
Well, thank you very much. Still learning it. It's like whenever I have like there's a conversation going on or I hear a word that I don't understand or out of the context and stuff, I try to Google it right away and remember for next time, so I know that. But yeah, obviously my wife is English as well, so it's the language of the house as well. So stuck with it. But I gotta be. I mean, I take thank you. It's a compliment, but I also have to say English is very easy to learn compared to now German or like French, for example. Those are languages that I way more complicated than English is. There's a reason why it's the world language. It should be easy to learn it.
The holidays just around the corner. If you're wanting to burn some extra calories to help with weight, or if you're looking to detoxify after a night of perhaps overindulging, check out the infrared sauna blanket from Bond Charge. I've been using this for months and I love how the sauna blanket raises your heart rate while you're just kind of sitting there relaxing. You can burn up to 600 calories in one session. I was saying to my wife, Rachel, like how badly I wanted a sauna because I knew of all the health benefits. Then we looked at the price and then we went, oh, wow, that infrared sauna blanket from Bond Charge is so much better because you get all the same benefits for a fraction of the price. It actually might be better than a real sauna because it heats up way faster in less than a minute. And then you can just sit there while you're reading or watching TV or doing whatever you want. And the infrared sauna blanket does its thing. Best of all, Bond Charge has lightning fast worldwide shipping for free and a 12-month warranty. You can save 25% this holiday season when you go right there to bondcharge.com/CVV. This deal is hot. See what I did there? It's a sauna blanket, and that's a savings of over $170. And when you go to bondcharge.com/CVV, the code is automatically applied. So take advantage of this deal while it's still going on for the holiday season.
So there's this photo that has been floating around online for months of you and Ludwig Kaiser. Have you seen this photo of you guys? You're very young. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah.
How old are you guys in this photo? And talk me through what's happening here.
I can tell you exactly what happened there because we just talked about it. On Monday at Raw because somebody backstage was asking us about that. It was literally, I think, the first time we actually met was that day because that must have been after a wrestling show in northern Germany where I was booked, and I think Marcel's coach was booked, so he was around, and there was a little bit of a party afterwards. I don't know the occasion for in the wrestling school Marcel was training, and that's where that picture happened. So basically we all got drunk after a wrestling show.
But the funny thing is, both of you guys are pretty much unrecognizable in that photo.
Oh yeah, I guess the weight I dropped, he gained over the time. But yeah, it is. It's very nice. It's just a reminder of like why you should take pictures for your own collection, because that's a good example of like, obviously it's really nice to look back now, like look at us now and then look back where we ran into each other the first time. It's nice to look at that.
If you put a photo of Walter and Gunther side by side, I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't believe that that's the same person.
Oh yeah, it's like when I see it now, I'm shocked. I'm like, oh my God. But before, when I was my old me, I didn't feel like somebody that is a little bit too heavy or something like that. Like I didn't feel like an overweight person or something like that, because it was always very comfortable. Like looking back now and seeing the difference, like, oh my gosh, like how, I mean, you work out yourself, you know how it is, like, because you never start to, like, you can be on a diet and feel really shredded, but then you go out for one really good meal and the next day you feel like, oh my gosh, everything's out of the window, right? So funny enough, sometimes just feeling wise, it goes like, I don't know, I'm good most of the times anyway, but then we go out for a nice dinner or something, have a few drinks, the next day, just body feeling wise, I feel like, oh, I'm the old me again. But that's obviously not true. But that's how your mind tricks you a little bit.
But what was the first step towards making that transformation? Because I mean, you truly do look like a totally different person now.
Oh yeah, it is, definitely. I mean, the first step was like we've been during COVID, like we have a friend that is like a bodybuilder, and he's coaching people. And I think he's owning a gym now and runs it and stuff. And he started to help Kaiser and Gio with their diet a little bit. And they were following a diet. They got in incredible shape. So we had that guy around, and I was never really, that's the one thing I have to say. And usually I was always on top of things in my life, in my adult life. But the diet is always something I kind of like neglected because I was good the way I was. But when I signed for the main roster and I knew, okay, I'm moving over now. I know I'm gonna be on national TV. I thought, okay, let's bring the best version of yourself you can. You're gonna be in front of millions of people every week. I think that step is necessary now, and yeah, I'm glad I did it. I feel like the independent wrestling Walter, that was a little bit bigger and it looked like a butcher from the next door shop. That was cool. I think that was fine for them, and I feel like uh, for the wrestling enthusiasts on the independent market, they like when you think back like Stan Hansen or Terry Gordy, like the bigger guys. I think it has its place in wrestling a little bit, but I felt like it's time to make a step and progress.
I'm always so curious, or I've always been so curious, when you were Walter, why was it in all caps? Like you were yelling your name at us?
Because of Kenta and what's the other guy called? Suba from Noah back then. I think it was Suba, the big heel. And I thought, and I was first on the indies as a babyface. I was Big Daddy Walter. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a heel now. So what are we doing? I said, you know what, just do Walter, but do it all caps. I think that looks amazing. And yeah, and I did that because like in when you watched Noah back then, Pro Wrestling Noah, you would always see the match lineups, but it was all Japanese, so you wouldn't understand one. But Kenta was always the 5 big letters. So I thought, you know what, this is a good way to stand out. I'm gonna do that as well.
So with the correct way to spell Gunther now, is that all caps?
That is all caps, definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
There we go. That's the title of this video. Then it's going to be on all caps. Now we know. Everyone talks about how hard your chops are. And in fact, when I saw you last time, you were talking about how you use your hand and your forearm. Who's chopped you the hardest?
I don't know. I don't really take a thing. I was shocked one time. I remember I wrestled in Germany back then. I was wrestling Pentagon actually, and I chopped him, and he chopped me once, and I was bleeding right away. I was like, what is going on? So some of the Mexican colleagues, I gotta say, they chop like it's the movement is a little bit like it's a whip, if that makes sense, because they chop from overhand. Most of them do. That is painful, I gotta say.
What would you say? Give us like maybe 3. What have been your 3 favorite championship defenses that you've had as the Intercontinental Champion?
As the Intercontinental Champion, I would say WrestleMania for sure. Sheamus and Drew.
What a match! I was there for that. Incredible.
Thank you. I was very happy with that. In general, it was a great day and weekend for me. My family was there and stuff like that. It was overall a really wholesome experience. I would say Chad Gable. It felt good. I love a underdog scenario, like David Goliath scenario. Would be number 3. Clash of the Castle was good, but I already mentioned Sheamus, and he doesn't deal too well with too much attention, so I can't mention him again. Who else did I have? I think Drew. The thing is, like SummerSlam against Drew, I think was a match I was really proud of as well, because Drew is such an established guy in WWE, and if you look at his story, it's very impressive. I think he was that young guy that got kicked, but he wasn't like, oh, let it be. He hurt his teeth and worked himself up again, and then he worked himself up to he was the champion. He beat Brock at WrestleMania, and even though nobody was there, it was still WrestleMania. Like, he figured out a way to like really belong in the top picture of the company. It's like you would see Drew McIntyre, okay, that guy. People turn around when that guy enters a room, right? So, sure. Yeah, so being in the ring with him and having that kind of match with him at SummerSlam, I really liked that. It was like, for me, it was a big test to have that match with Drew, and just to see if I can, just hang with him in there on that stage and having a match of that magnitude.
You're certainly the person that people think of when they think of this current design of the Intercontinental Championship, because
Yeah.
you've held it for so long. Who was the person that you thought of when you were a kid, when you thought of the Intercontinental Championship?
I think Sean. I grew up like the first time watching the VHS back then. It was the time when Sean had that ladder match with Razor and Sean against Jeff Jarrett Rumble 95, for example. And then Sean had his thing of like walking out with the title, right? Getting counted out so he doesn't lose the title. They should have been really quicker with adjusting that rule, to be honest. He got away with that quite often. Lackluster, I have to say, by management there. No, but Sean would be the guy I would connect with that, yeah.
Were you a Sean guy growing up?
Yeah, like I wasn't anybody's guy, to be honest. I really enjoyed wrestling and a lot of aspects of it. So I didn't really have that one favorite where I was like, yeah, there were times I enjoyed the undercard and midcard matches more than the actual main events, because I feel like, especially like in the early 2000s, sometimes they felt, or late 90s, it was always the big outside brawl in the main events before something happened in the ring. And I liked the matches more when it got to the action quick.
I feel like we get such tiny little slivers of who you are outside of the ring. And sometimes you give them to us, like when you got married. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What makes you decide to give us these little slivers into your personal life?
You make me out to seem like a big strategist when it comes to that, but I'm
Are you?
I'm totally not. No. In general, often I just operate like, and I just do what feels right, if that makes sense. If it's even if it's something that would benefit me, but it doesn't feel right for me to do, then I'm not gonna do it. And sometimes it feels right for me to share a little bit of my private life, but I like to have that. In general, I like to have that as minimal as possible. I don't like the idea of oversharing your own life for whatever reach or interaction and stuff like that. At the end of the day, I don't think it's healthy if that on-screen persona Gunther and my personal self would melt and become the same person. I like to have that a little bit separated from me.
But I mean, when you scroll through your Instagram, it's like, it's all, your accomplishments in WWE, and you keep scrolling and you scroll some more, and then you're like, oh, there, he's a real person here. And then you keep scrolling and it's more WWE.
Yes. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, especially on social media and stuff, that's what it's there for, to promote my career and promote myself. It's a tool for that, and most of the personal happenings get only shared in a very small circle.
I don't know if everybody has picked up on this, but there are occasions when you call it the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. When did you start working heavyweight into it?
When I was reading that it was on the title, actually. It says on the title heavyweight. So I was like, okay, I have to say that. That was all it was. I wasn't really paying attention to that, but at one point I was just looking at the title and was like, it says heavyweight. Yeah, it's the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion from now on, so obviously. And it's very fitting.
It just feels like a little thing that is like, I don't know, it's taking it up just even another notch now.
Yes. Obviously it helps. It's like, I feel like, because we all grew up with, like, what was the most popular boxing matches? Heavyweight fights. We grew up, what are the most popular wrestling matches? The big heavyweight matches. It's, you know what I mean? What's the main event in Olympia weightlifting? The heavyweight. It's always that. I think because we grew up with that a little bit. So when you add that to the title, it just helps. Yeah, just makes it appear even more significant than before, if it makes sense.
When you're at home like you are now, I think you're at home right now, right?
I am, yes.
Is there a place for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship? Does it live in a certain spot?
Yes, on top of my suitcase in that.
Ready to go.
Ready to go again. And because I gotta pack it in Wednesday today, in 2 days.
What has been your greatest story of taking that championship through TSA? at the
Oh
airport?
yeah, it's so in Orlando it's actually good, because there's so many wrestlers living in Orlando that by now they kind of know when they see it, okay, it's title. And they look, who is that? Oh, it's those guys again. They know us there. That's good. But yeah, sometimes people get carried away a little bit. So there were a few situations where I had to be like, "Can you do your job, sir? Thank you." When they start like taking it or showing it off or whatever, it's like it's not a toy. Put it back. Do your job. Thank you. But as the champion, it's my job. That's why I carry it with me, so nobody can mess around with it.
I can only imagine a TSA agent bringing it out and like attempting to challenge you for it or something like that.
Oh yeah, all this you hear everything. There was one guy actually was quite funny because I had a streak of like annoying incidents there, and then it takes forever. And I gotta go to the flight. And this time I was annoyed already, and it went to the side. And I said to guys, I actually was like, not again. And he was like, no, that guy, he looks serious. He looks like he knows what his job is. And I talk to him, and I turn around, and I see that guy grabbing my suitcase, lifting it like that over his head, walking towards me. Then he slammed it on the table, opened it up, took the title out, said something stupid. And I was like, I had enough. I was like, okay, guys, do your job, put the title back on. Come on. But that's part of it in general. But I like the idea of like that the champion carries the title by himself. I always did that. I was on the Indies. I think when I was PWG champion, I said I take the title with me 100%, wherever I go. And on the Indies, it's a good, yeah, it gives you a little bit of leverage as well. So they're gonna book you again. So it's like,
You know, I really can't see you losing this championship at any point with the run that you're on right now. Do you think it might be possible for you to hold both the Intercontinental Championship and the WWE Championship at the same time?
I think that is possible. But we will see. That's just hard to get to there. I think once a year I have the chance when the Royal Rumble comes around. I came very close last year. Let's see what happens this year. I think then it's absolutely possible, but it's also not my focus right now.
Is the focus just, are you going to take this to 1,000 days? Is that what the focus is?
Yeah, I don't plan on losing it. I think no champion does that. But also I know that there will be a time where I lose it. That's nothing lasts forever, and it's the same case for my title reign. That will not last forever either. But it's on me to hold on to it as long as possible.
Is there a number? Is there a number of days in mind?
No.
Like, can I get to 550? Now can I get to 600? Now, 1,000 maybe.
I gotta be fully honest. It's like I have not once have I taken record, like have a look how many days, or I was never paying attention to that. I only find out mostly through Twitter, because it was linked in something, but it was like reach that new thing. And then it's nice. Then it's nice to see, but I never have that number in my head myself, because I don't like to compare myself with others. It's like the others do their thing. I just focus on myself and compete with myself, and I don't think it's healthy to. Yeah, you can endlessly compare yourself to others.
Sure.
There will always be somebody that is better than you.
Comparison is the thief of joy. I love that quote.
It is, 100%. You can, whatever you achieve in life, if you focus what somebody else does better, you will always find somebody doing something better. It doesn't matter who you are. It's the whatever. I tell you, there's a better businessman, a better entrepreneur out there than Elon Musk in some aspect. He won't care about it, I guess, but if he would, he could get frustrated about it, that some other dude somewhere else is better in a certain aspect. So cut it out. Doesn't lead anywhere.
One of the best things about talking to you is you're so kind. I don't know if people like realize this. Like, you're just so kind in real life, and I appreciate that. It's always great to talk to you.
Thank you. I try to not change who I am, or even though with all the stuff that happens, because life changes dramatically when when you make good money and stuff like that, and you get recognized, and you get you can do this for free and no jump in front of the line. It's you. And sometimes that's comfortable and sometimes I don't, it's not necessary because at the end of the day, work is work and the person who I am is who I am. That's two different things.
So I end every conversation talking about gratitude because it's such an important part of my life. I wake up every day. I say out loud three things I'm grateful for, and I do it before I go to bed too. So what are three things in your life that you're grateful for as we sit here right now?
My wife, my friends, my family. The three most important things. And I got most amazing wife I could ask for. I got friends, just a very few, but I know they would go to hell with me if it's necessary. And my family, I cannot ask for a better upbringing, and better support throughout my life and my career to this day. And I think those are the three most important tools.
Those are three good ones. So great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I guess see each other soon.
I will see you soon.
Take care.